right, guys, guess what? We've got another episode of Girls Talk Candid Conversations for you. Now, we know the last episode we did related to relationships, sex, love, you name it, got a little heated. So we're going to try to keep this one really tame for this episode. But I'm just letting you know, it's going to be juicy. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to talk about relationships, healthy relationships. What does that look like? And that's across the board, right? Because you have relationships in the dating stage, you have relationships that are committed relationships, you have relationships that are marriages, you have relationships that I guess are situationships, because that exists, okay? Now, I don't know if I would say a situationship is healthy, but we're going to talk about it because I'm interested to know that fact.
Or it's complicated.
Right? And then, we're going to talk about just overall, what does that look like? What, as women, what does having healthy romantic relationships look like for us today in the modern age? So, I'm going to kick it off.
Sorry.
And, see, we already have knee-jerk reaction. I'm going to go to Lee.
Okay.
Because Lee, she's been married for a while. So what I would love to know from probably the person who's been married here in this group the longest, what does healthy relationships look like for you? When you look at your trajectory or your relationship, what does that look like?
Well, communication is key because there are so many times that there are arguments, and this can be said for any type of relationship, whether it's familial, it's your sister, it's your cousin, it's your best friend. I feel like most arguments are caused by miscommunications. And so you have to be very clear about what you're saying and what you want, and what your expectations are. And to the point that you are explicit. And my husband and I have both said this. Like, I need you to be explicit with me because I am not a mind reader, and neither is he. So tell me exactly what you want. And there have been times when he has had to ask me when I'm venting, do you want a solution? Do you want me to fix it? Or do you just want me to listen and then give you a hug? Console. And then having a healthy sex life is also very important. And you have to be on the same page there. Or close to the same page. There may be things that, your partner wants that you are not interested in doing. And that's fine. But setting that boundary and saying, I'm not okay with this. This wasn't fun for me. I don't want to do it again. But still finding a way to keep that spark, because when you have been married for almost 2 decades, let's be honest, it can get a little dry.
And stale, probably.
And it gets a little boring, and you gotta find ways to spice it up. That's where she comes into play.
We're gonna get to the next resident in a moment, but we're gonna stay over here.
And just honestly, being friends with your spouse. He is, first and foremost, he's my friend. He's probably my best friend. And, and if I don't even like him, how can I love him?
Yep. Okay.
So.
All right. There's so many things that you've said that we're going to unpack. Yes, Lord, we're going to unpack some of these. But I'm going to keep...
over to Kim.
No, we are not.
Okay.
See, we're keeping this one like legit on the up and up so you can understand where I'm going. So I'm going to actually go to you, Monique.
Okay.
Because in looking at relationships, you're in a very interesting dichotomy, right? Yes, you've been divorced. You were married for almost as long as Lee
17 years.
17 goddamn years. That's a long time. Yeah. You're divorced, and now you're dating in what we call the ghetto dating streets. But
it is the ghetto.
So you've got a certain... it's like you have the past experience of the long-term relationship, and now you've got the current experience of dating. And what do you think healthy relationships look like?
Oh, well, this is such a loaded question. That's why I was like, maybe if I can
No, I'm moderating this one.
Okay.
So
you are on the spot of
I am on the spot. And honestly, my honest answer to this question is I'm still trying to figure that out. Because as you stated, I was married for 17 years. Obviously, I'm not married anymore, so that didn't work out. And I'm also dating. So in that, I was married when I was 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm 43. So 20 years later, to be introduced to this new form of dating is different.
Yeah.
So how I viewed relationships and what the importance of the relationship was kind of skewed based on the fact that I was married and now I'm not married anymore. And now going into a new situation, I have to like redefine what that means. So I can piggyback off of a few things that she said. Communication is very good. Being friends, which is something that I'm intentionally building in dating relationships, like friendships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, communication, still working at that communication as far as communicating my needs and wants in the situation
Mm-hmm.
to maybe like get a better outcome, or even just to have the person that I'm dating understand me better,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and being a friend, of course. And I guess sex is a little bit maybe it's a little
bit.
I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
Just kind of putting that out there a little bit,
All right. Just a little. Everybody has got different recipes for healthy, so that's okay. So
I'll take it from you right there.
you're trying to give back to me.
No, I'll jump in. And I'll
Yes,
take it
thank
from
you.
here.
Lana, because you are like, your entire relationship right now is interesting, right? I mean, you're in a long-term thing.
Yes, but so I'm the Generation X in the group.
Yes.
So I've had and I did originally get married very young. Then of course you already know,
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself dating again, and so when I found originally myself dating, the online dating was just budding. I mean, it was embarrassing to talk about because people would be like, "We met at the grocery store." Of course, that's a long time ago. Now, and again, I'm out of the pool for almost a decade now, but I vicariously relive it through my friends who use all this app. So I've personally had experience when Match was still a big thing, and it's also old school. But so I've experienced that as the online dating became more and more the norm, people started losing the ability to connect with each other and started developing this immediate need for instant gratification.
Yeah. Yes.
Where before you met somebody random out with friends and you actually met people and you interacted with them. And so as more we started to just like picking people from the list by the way they looked and then coming out meeting them and they were not the same people, or they were 20 years older, or it started
or someone better came along in your inbox,
right? Or like people we're gonna get and so like also lists became disposable, because so I feel like as the online dating has become a norm, expectation of picking the person from the page and having them fill in all the boxes on the list has become a thing, and so building relationship has become more and more difficult because people, if you don't, if somebody doesn't fit, it doesn't mean you or the person you met, if they don't tick the boxes, there is another list.
That's right.
And it just constantly revolving door. And so there is so many miserable people that keep going through the motions there is 8 million people around me. And there is no one around me.
Okay,
They're
so
lonely.
then let's fast forward to that. Online dating has evolved. We have now this myriad of different things that we're using to choose whether I date this person or I'm in a relationship with them. But from your perspective, even coming from when online dating was back in the day, what do you think are the keys for a healthy relationship?
The key is what Lee said. So when you click with someone, you need to find a partner in the other person. You're not looking for a partner. You need the other person needs to become your partner. So you need to be friends. I think every healthy relationship has the backbone of being friends, because because physical is going to ebb and flow, you know. I mean, there are going to be rough times, there are going to be everything. If you're not friends enough to like have the great times, go through the bad times, be able to communicate and talk about this, you need to like similar things. Like, I don't believe in opposites attract long term. Opposites attract, and it burns, and ashes fall out. Yeah, it just goes away because there is nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have the similarities that you can continue build on, because building rapport with each other is a lifelong process.
Okay. Put a pin on that.
Yeah. That's it.
I'm going to go to Kim because she's over here burning up, trying to tell me.
That's a dangerous
she wants to tell us what healthy relationships look like. I mean, I'm not even going to go describe Kim, but Kim, so you're married with kids, and you two act sometimes like teenagers. I'm like, God damn,
We keep shit interesting, damn
Okay,
it.
so in that perspective, what do you think makes a healthy relationship?
Okay, so let me start off by, y'all know I was married young, dated for a very long time because that was a bad situation, and I was determined I wasn't getting married again, and then Jason and I got married. Okay, being younger, I think you have this, everybody has this fairy tale ending in their brain. You walk into it and you think, this is going to be my fairy tale ending. Everybody thinks this is going to be this big romance. You have all these high expectations, and not having the mature mindset enough to realize what it is. So you just go in there with these rose-colored glasses on, and you ignore red flags and things, and you put yourself in a situation. And I think we all go through that spell and bout of life. Jason and I met online. It's funny.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
No.
We actually knew each other two ways, which is hysterical, but him and my brother were friends growing up, and I do not remember my husband ever being at my house as a child. I just want y'all to know. He remembered me as a child, but I had no idea who he was. But my oldest daughter's dad and they apparently were friends, and I had only known his name, and that was the only association I had with him, but we were friends on Facebook because of the two of them. And he had stopped dating someone, and I was like, hey, did you and so-and-so break up? You know, I'm sexed to hear that. I'm really sorry. I hope, and it just led into a conversation.
No, that was not a lead. Jason knew what he was doing.
Oh, no. Jason swears that I came after him with full force. Okay, you probably did.
I know, I was going to say, I see that too.
Please, don't add to his ego. Don't add to his ego. So, the conversation has just led on from there, and Jason and I got married within months, guys, months. But it's just the dynamics are so different. Jason and I have been through a lot of things in our marriage. Our marriage is not perfect. It never has been perfect. And if you walk into it, and I think that's the one thing I took away from the first marriages, life is not a fairy tale, it is what you make it. Grass is green where you water it, okay? I cannot express that enough. Don't ever think, my relationship with you's gotten stagnant, so I'm going to go water this grass over here because she's hot or he's hot, and, he's piquing my interest right now.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. That's not commitment. That's not building a relationship. That's not investing in something long term. That's being immature.
So you would say, in defining a healthy relationship, it requires
commitment, communication, being steady, and understanding that things are not perfect. But
realistic, probably.
Being realistic. I have so many young people around me getting married right now, and they're always like, Kim, give me the best advice. Give me the marriage advice. Because everybody's got these cute little index cards at their wedding now. Like, give me a great thing that I can. My best advice to anybody is the things you work the hardest for in life are the most rewarding in the end. Your marriage, your family, your at-home life will be the hardest thing you work for in your life. Keeping that fire burning, keeping things interesting, keeping that relationship strong and fresh, it's not easy. It takes work. But if you put the work in, it is extremely rewarding.
It's gratifying. All right.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna go to Riri, Radhika on the end. A little bit different from the ladies here, but also similar. I'm gonna save myself for last. But you are dating, right? And kind of maybe a little bit, I think, younger than, well, for the most part, most of us. So what do you think, based on relationships and currently dating, would you say are some key things that you've gleaned for a healthy relationship?
All right. So, definitely communication is a big thing. But before that, it's also being attuned with yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when you go into a relationship, you need to understand what it is you want, what you're looking for, how certain things affect you. And you don't have to know it 100%, but at least being cognizant and aware of how things affect you is a big thing, right? Because now you're looking to get with a partner, and now you're going to have to communicate to them the things you want and stuff, and that's going to be something you got to know how to communicate or know what you're trying to communicate, right? So it's the knowing yourself, being able to communicate, and definitely agree with the fact that friendship is one of those things is a must, or it's something that, you build on, and it lays to the foundation. But I've also noticed too which I do agree with you on like the opposites, the whole opposite thing, it's a little bit questionable. And the reason I say it is there are certain things you can be opposite in, but it cannot be your cores. Like there are some core foundational things when you realize in your life that these are critical. Like, and if you don't, you might as well keep moving. Yeah. All right. And so you have to know what those are. And like, if you want to I like horror movies and I like comedy, who gives a, okay, come on, let's try this out. Mm-hmm. But if it's like, I want a family and you don't, what's the point then? You got to know what things you're able to flex on and what you aren't. So you have your communication, knowing your foundation in yourself, and just really being, I think, open to it too. Like the compromise is the thing. It's like being open to the possibilities, because if you're not, you will block yourself regardless. Whether it's a healthy relationship or unhealthy, you will never know because you don't allow yourself to be open to the possibilities. So
okay. Oh, so now me.
Yes.
Let's go. So funnily enough, they're all looking at me because, as I am not currently dating, it's been interesting. And I agree with all of you guys. I agree with all of you. But in trying to make myself the best version of myself while dating, because part of it too is in knowing yourself and doing the work on yourself, you also attract the best version of what you need in your life, right? So if you feel like you're just broken and all over the place, I feel like you're going to attract somebody who's broken and all over the place too. And the both of you are going to roll around broken and all over the place, okay? And I've experienced that. So you're going, no, I don't really need that anymore. Those days are past. But I'll give you 3 things. And it's pretty much what you guys have all said. But I learned this also by watching way too many videos and reading way too many books. But it will be summarized in a nutshell. 1. You have to have chemistry. Mm-hmm. So Lee talked about it. You gotta, and Kim talked about it. Your sex life. You've got to have that chemistry. You have to be able to sit next to this person and have a spark. And I'm pretty sure there's some ladies that are going to talk about when you don't have the chemistry, what that looks like in a relationship. It's hard as hell. Okay. It's hard as heck, right? So you've got to have that chemistry. The second one, you have to have connection. And everybody kind of summarized that. Connection is this. We could be sitting in opposite rooms, but we know each other. I could probably even pick out the outfit you would have worn if you chose it back there, right? It comes down to friendship, because when you know your friend, you know what your friend's going to do. You know how they're going to answer this question in this particular situation. You can go out and have fun because there's a connection there. I like you. We like each other, right? We can lay in a bed and not say anything but still enjoy our company. And you're not getting on my last nerves, right? Because you've probably dated people who you go, you can't sit still, and they can't sit still. And you're like, what is wrong? Just like, do something with yourself, right? And that's because that connection is not there. And then the third one, which everybody mentioned, but based on everything I've read, it seems like that is actually the last one. And we're going to talk about it because everybody mentioned it, right? Which means that for everybody, it's important. But in everything I've read, communication is actually the third on the list. The top two are chemistry and connection, and the third is communication. Because, of course, you need all three. But you can have all the communication in the world you want. If you don't have the chemistry and you don't have the connection,
Well, you can talk all you want. We just keep talking.
we just keep talking.
I was actually in that situation, so.
I have a friend who recently divulged she was in this type of situation recently, and
What
she was,
situation? So that they can
so
know.
the communication was on point, but the sex was lacking, and I'm sitting there going, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, but he's so great, and he understands, and he does these things.
He feeds
and,
your brain, but not your body.
you know, so if I have to pretend here, then it's okay because I'm getting all these other things." And I'm sitting there looking at her going, "The fuck? No. Like, this should be a very, I feel like it should flow.
Mm-hmm.
It should flow. We've had the talk. You test drive a car before you purchase it.
Mm-hmm.
Think
This
what
is
you
my
may.
phrase. You have to. You. I mean, like, you don't blind buy.
No, I have men to this day, judge as you may, who are still like, "What happened? Like, you ghosted me and you've never talked to me again." Well, you can think what you want to think. You don't want to hear my honest opinion of what happened because you would feel very insecure at the end. But
Don't ask.
there's a reason it didn't work, and just leave it at that. And if you've got a whole lot of other ladies that it didn't work with afterwards, you might need to go do some refocusing on what you're doing. But
Monique.
What is the question?
So here's where we are.
Yes.
We're talking about so as I was listening to everybody, you all mentioned communication as key, right? And like I mentioned, as I am consuming all this information, communication is the last thing because it makes no sense to communicate or have communication when you don't have chemistry and connection. So the question is, you mentioned when Kim said, yeah, like I have a situation like that. You said, yes, I've actually been in a situation like that. Talk to us about how you, like, based on that situation, what you pulled from it.
So without going too deep into the situation because it's still kind of fresh. So just based on previous relationships before, the other two were definitely there.
Okay.
The chemistry and connection was definitely there. It just lacked the communication. So then on the flip side, I was in a situation where communication was great.
Top notch.
However, okay. However, the other two were. It was there.
we said this was going to be.
It was there. It was there. It was there.
Okay.
But
You're trying
it
to
wasn't
convince
as
us.
strong. No, I'm being honest. It was there, but it wasn't as strong as it could have been, or I felt it needed to be in the situation. And I saw the difference.
Okay.
I saw the difference where I was like, man, I think I could probably live without communication.
So much so that you came out of maybe two situations that were maybe parallel but opposite. So you saw one where you had the chemistry and connection, but the communication was pretty lacking or not up to par. And then you're in a situation where you saw the communication being up to par, but the chemistry and connection wasn't there, and it got you to the point of even saying you could just get away with communication.
I could get away with working on the communication.
Like maybe I put that
But working on the communication because it's so important
It is.
to actually like enjoy being with the person that you are with, and being attracted to that person. And so when you don't have that, communication is important. I'm not gonna say that it's not. But I think it's something that you could work on if you have the other two in play.
Yes.
But if you have this superb communication, and it's like, but okay, I mean.
Well, there has to be physical attraction first that makes you go, oh, he's cute. I want to go talk to him.
Yeah.
But physical attraction is not
Well, chemistry is something else.
Yeah.
And I
But
found
build
chemistry
on it,
is
though.
very important.
So Lana, you are absolutely correct, because neither one of these persons were my type, if you want me to put it in that box. However, the one that I had chemistry with, it was on a different level. It was beyond physical attraction. You know, so yeah, to me it goes beyond attraction. It was okay, I genuinely connected with this person on so many levels.
But that is chemistry.
Hold on. And through the connection, the chemistry was built, you know? So it was like, oh my gosh. So yeah.
So let's talk about this, because connection is not chemistry, right? One may lead to the other, but they're mutually exclusive.
But chemistry, just think about chemistry. Chemistry is mixing things together and getting a reaction. You mixing something in the beaker, in the vial, you know, whatever, and then it bubbles up. You know, think about chemistry.
Yeah.
You know, you take H and O and you make H2O.
You take two H's and one O.
That's right. You make science. Anyway, chemistry is, it allows you to feel the other person. So you connect to them in multiple ways. It's not just seeing that someone is attractive. This is just a visual. Chemistry is when you're so in sync with each other on the physical, mental, emotional, on different levels, to where whenever you try to, you know, I don't care if it's a sex or it's a conversation, you feel and you feed off each other. So you can be, like Carrie said, you can be sitting in two different rooms, feeling completely content, you know, doing your thing, knowing that and you feel that the other person is perfectly content. Like, you can be in the same room, sit in the chair, not to exchange words with each other for hours and feel perfectly happy. You can be apart, and that's a chemistry. You're apart. You're not even in the same vicinity, you know, geographically. And you get this urge, and you pick up a phone, and they're calling you, and they're like, "Why'd you answer so fast?" I don't know.
Yeah, that happens to me with the other person.
That's chemistry. You can be just laying in bed, just because, and feeling perfectly content, or whatever you do, it just feels right and organic and right. That's a chemistry, and I think a lot of relationships right now don't really work. Because we never get to the part where we find out that we have
People make
chemistry
so many boxes, and they have so many lists and so many expectations, and if everybody doesn't fill every single category of that list, they're like, no. And they don't even want to try. They don't want to see. They don't create the bond, the connection, the chemistry, or even see if that's there. Because if it doesn't meet every expectation, then I'm not going to waste my breath on it. So if we could take anything away from that, I would say don't create a list.
But
don't
I will take you as an example.
Well, let's hold on, and we're going to come back to talking to Lee.
Yeah, I want to add on to that.
Yes, we're going to come back to talking to Lee. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to delve into this, connection chemistry thing. And I'm going to take it to Lee, because what I want to know is, as you were talking about your relationship, your marriage, and how long you guys have been married, something that's key is keeping those things going, right? Being friends, liking this person. So how do you look at a healthy relationship and define connection in a healthy relationship?
Well, I think connection, it's kind of something that you build. It's either there or it's not. You either got it or you don't. And you can grow it. You can make that connection deeper. But if it's not there, if the chemistry's not there, the connection's not going to be there. But keeping everything, keeping that connection is hard, because we get busy. We both work. We have 4 kids, and shit gets real. So we have to prioritize ourselves, like our marriage. And I know that he would agree with me when I say that our marriage is more important to us than our relationship with our children. And I say that because without our marriage working out, there's no family for them. There's no core nuclear family. So our marriage is the most important aspect of our nuclear family. And so we make a lot of time throughout the week to just get away, even if it's just for 30 minutes. Dinner's over, the kids are cleaning the kitchen, we're gonna go run to Starbucks and get a drink and just take a drive. And then we'll come right back home.
You know, it's funny because, so one of the days that I was home, and for, if you guys don't know, Lee's also kind of like my neighbor too, well, kind of soon.
We're neighbors.
Yeah. And one of the days I saw you guys walking, and I was like, you know, with my very loud stuff, where are you guys going? And you guys were like, we're just walking and talking. And I was like, wow, like that's kind of powerful, right? Like it's a normal day and a normal evening, and you guys are just like, okay, we're just gonna take a walk and with the dog, and we're just talking, no kids, just me and you. And I think that is powerful, because the idea of two people after 18 years taking a walk and just talking, right? Everything else, I mean, to me, that's the epitome of connection, right? Yeah. So I'm going to talk to you, Lana, because, you know, probably besides Kim, you probably have a relationship probably, you know, the longest. So how do you maintain connection? How do you define it? How do you maintain it? How do you ensure it stays healthy?
Healthy is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes, that's
I
agree.
You know, just like everything, I'm always ambiguous about everything.
Yes, she is.
But you know, honestly, yes, chemistry is a must. But then there is so many little aspects that keep you connected to each other. And you know, there is communication, but there is just ability. I base always everything on ability to be friends with each other. You know, that gives you ability to communicate properly. Sometimes you need to be listened to, and sometimes you need to know that your partner just wants you to just shut up and listen and like let him vent. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's coming out of him, but he needs to pour it out. Sometimes is ability to give each other space. And because, you know, people process things in a different way, and if you constantly like this, you don't get to be yourself. You know, one of you absorbs the other, and you become extension of each other. Exactly. So I think that with times, I think relationships go stale most often because people don't spend enough time apart sometimes and lose their own. I don't mean apart, like, but they don't give each other those little space breaks, which allows them to gain their authentic self back. Because when we meet somebody, when we meet a person, there's two individuals with certain skills, qualifications, personality traits that come together. And as we become one and years go by, I mean, like, look, there's so many studies where people start to look alike.
Yes.
You know, like they become each other, and they, you know, and they like each other, and there's chemistry, say friends, but like they start to lose those things that that attracted them to each other,
and that made them individuals.
And made them individuals, and so maybe they just don't look as exciting anymore. And so I feel like it's really important in a relationship to maintain ability to remain yourself. And when someone needs that room to do something that makes them them, you don't fight it, you give it to them. You know, because a lot of things that people, you know, that people tend to do are based on insecurities that they project onto their partner. And so I think a healthy way of maintaining a great relationship is not to fall a prey to insecurity. You know, and just, if it wasn't there in the beginning, why are you creating it? It's all in your head. I mean, so that's the bottom line.
Right. So, well, and it's funny, before I come to you, I do want to add too, that space is important, but too much space, it's a killer. That's one of the biggest reasons my last relationship failed, because I am uber independent, And I just think, you know what, I'm going to keep doing my thing. He was doing his thing. We were doing a whole lot of things separately. And then there were two little things together. So that connection, while maybe it started at a 50, it just slowly dwindled to a 5. And then you completely don't know each other. You're like passing ships. We're just friends or roommates.
It's a fine dance.
Yes.
So not, so it is ability to like manage that fine little dance where you stay the individuals that came in together originally without completely losing yourself and becoming uninteresting to each other. Because that translates into your dining room, into your living room, into your bedroom, into your trip. It translates into kids and family members, and everyone can feel it.
Oh, yes.
Too much space, there's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Connection? How do you guys maintain connection?
Jason and I are creatures of habit. So there's like a unspoken rule at our house. Well, it's spoken quite frequently, but it's the rule at our house. When he and I get in bed, that is our time.
So the kids are like,
they can come in, they can sit around at the end of the bed or on the floor or whatever, watch a show with us, whatever, but that is our time together. So like, he lays his head on me, I scratch his head, I scratch his back, we snuggle, like we literally cuddle for hours before we go to sleep. Like, he takes it highly offensive if I turn my back on him when we're going to bed. What? Wait a minute. Hold on. What? So you're just gonna go to bed like that? You're gonna flip your back to me? This is how we're gonna go to sleep tonight? Like, it's a big thing, and we give each other a lot of flack for it. But that's a very important thing to us. Like, if I get in bed, I'll be sitting there and I'm like, and he'll get on his phone or he's TikToking and I'm like, excuse me, I'm cold. And I do this and he's like, I'm coming, and he puts his phone down, he comes over and we snuggle and we watch a movie together. But it's like it's a consistent thing for us. It's every single night. And when one or the other isn't there, neither one of us can sleep. It's like, okay, I didn't get that emotional. For us, it's an emotional decompressing time. But we spend that time together every evening. And every evening, that is our time just to bond and have the physical touch. And I mean, we don't even have to talk. We don't have to talk about our day. We don't have to talk about how work was or how it wasn't or how the kids were or weren't or anything. It's just the physical connection and us.
Yep. And so before I jump to Monique and Radhika, it sounds like part of connection is also keeping it habitual. It's a constant thing.
It's work.
It's consistency. Love that. All right. I'm going to go to Radhika and then I'm going to go to Monique. See? Dating. How do you maintain connection dating?
That's a great question, folks. If you know the answer, please make a comment on this episode because I will be reading them.
Is that your answer?
Partially, yes. I'm not kidding, but that kind of is true. But if I'm going to say connection, honestly, it is taking time to get to know the person, asking those questions, spending the moments together. But like a few of us said on this, it's a little bit difficult too because in this whole age of dating with the online world, it's like not everyone wants to be tapped in. They don't want to do the work. It's like it should be instant gratification. Like, it should either come easy or there's so much options out there. It's like, I sprinkle a little bit here, sprinkle a little bit there, and a little bit there. And I'm like, oh, you're going to sprinkle some somewhere else. So it's just like.
She said that. She went there.
She is.
Okay. In this dating world, do y'all stop and do what's your favorite color? What's your favorite thing to eat? Where do you love to go anymore? Like, do y'all just skip over all of that, getting to know each other's faces?
I don't. No. I still ask those questions because I think that's part of connecting. And finding out whether or not, like this person is the right person for you. So those questions are,
I'm genuinely
I
curious.
just don't come out and say, hey, what's your favorite color? No, I don't do that. But then you talk and you ask questions to get those answers. Because some of them are very straightforward, but then some of them are just like, when you listen and you talk to a person and then you find out so much things just in general conversations about a person,
You were going to say something?
So yes and no, we still do the questions, but again, I think when it comes to dating now, you have to kind of get questions that answer multiple things at once.
Yeah.
So you have to be strategic with this online world
because guys don't want to be interrogated.
No,
because this is not an interview. Yeah, this is not an interview.
It is an interview, on the job interview.
Yes, it was an on the job.
Yes, but
it's funny.
They don't. I've only met one guy that was like, ask me all the questions you want to ask, and I will answer them, and he really did.
So maybe the moral hold on. Maybe the moral of the story is you are not trying to force a bucket up a hill, right? So maybe if you're dating and you want to establish a connection, and Brown Man is like, no, I don't need to answer all these questions. Is there a thing that you can say, is this the person for me? I mean, I am literally, is this the person for me, right? Because...
But then what if the one that's answering all the questions, you don't have the chemistry and the communication, chemistry and connection with?
There should be more than one process of elimination.
That's right. There should be more than one process of elimination, and not because you meet the communication, but you miss the chemistry and connection. I get stuck with you, right? Because in value, it's like looking at a value system. There has to be chemistry, then it goes to connection, and you work on communication. So if you're missing those top two, you might just roll it along, right? Because eventually you're going to roll it along to the person that you are going to have chemistry with. You are going to have a connection. May not be where you want it to be, but you're going to work on it, and then you work on communication. Is that even feasible? Because okay, so in my perspective, I feel a little.
Do you feel attacked?
No, I feel a little vulnerable for the first time, and I'm such an oversharer, right? How so? No. So. I agree, though. I agree that it exists. And for the first time, it does exist, but it is the right person, because in my mind, I never felt like guys answered questions. But you run into one who looks forward to answering them and says, yes, keep it coming.
What if they're just good at taking tests and they enjoy them?
Or what if that is what if they just like talking about themselves?
No, it's the questions. So the questions aren't what's your favorite food. Your questions are more in-depth questions about the person and their value system, what they consider to be important, what they don't. And you can also pay attention to the quality of the answers. Is it an answer that gives you a one-liner, or if it's something that gives you sentences and you're like,
where they actually took time to
answer it.
To think about the question and give it a thoughtful answer. Yeah.
When you two found your soulmates, did you have that instant knee-jerk reaction? Oh, I feel like that is my other half. Like, I feel like
this is my person.
This is my person, and I feel like I'm a part of them.
Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly how I felt. And it didn't matter what his answers to the questions were or what he did or didn't do. That feeling that I had, it's never gone away. It's never
I had
waned.
it to me happen twice in my life. And you knew from the beginning.
It's like
and then me personally, then I fought it.
Yes.
You know what I'm thinking about, right?
Yes.
But you
the moral of this story is, while we may not have defined, we did. We defined the elements of a healthy relationship in modern day society. 3 things, okay? Chemistry, connection, communication. How do you keep all of them? Well, some of them you can't really manufacture. Chemistry's just got to be there.
Yeah.
You can certainly build on those things, but chemistry has to be there. And essentially, just listening to all of us, that the connection has to be there. It may not come in full force immediately, but it's something that you have to habitually and consistently build on. Mm-hmm. And of course, communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, so it has to be there too. Mm-hmm. So as we date or we're in marriages or we're in situationships or we're in whatever the ships are, then those things are critical, I would say. Ladies, agree? Disagree?
Agree. 100%. Feed them.
100%. All right.
Feed your relationship.
Feed your relationship. So,
That's right.
until next time, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, thank you for
share.
tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.